Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start our Wednesday class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति शांति शांति. Today I'm going to talk about attachments, expectations. Which is a pretty deep topic. And sometimes the words are simple, but very hard to implement these ideas. But this is something very basic. We need to cultivate these qualities. That's why Lord Krishna mentions also in Bhagavad Gita, Vairagya. So opposite of Vairagya is what? Attachment. So we got to understand what this attachment is. And attachment definitely is directly related with the expectations. So in very simple terms, I'm going to open up this topic of Vairagya today. If you can take your mind towards the Yoga Sutras, where Lord Rishi Patanjali, we call him Rishi Patanjali, Lord Krishna and Rishi Patanjali. Rishi Patanjali, he says there are vrittis. Vrittis means these modifications or the fluctuations of our mind. And they can be painful or they can be pleasurable. And he used the word kalishta and akalishta, if you remember those terms. And this Sanskrit word kalesh comes from the root kalish. So when he said kalisht, it's a root word for kalesh. That means to inflict pain. Kalesh. In our everyday language, also in Hindi, we use that word kalesh. Kalesh mat paida karo. Whether it's in our mind or whether it's in the outer atmosphere. So according to the ancient yoga masters, yogis, yogi gurus, the attachment rag is one of the 5 kleshas. Okay, rag, attachment. And the others are what? Avidya, ignorance, ego, asmita, aversion, dvesh, and fear, abhinivesh. So together they go like avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. But today we are going to talk about mainly rag. These kleshas, all 5 of them, are submerged in our chitta, in our subconscious mind. All of them. The yogis, they say they are like iceberg. Only a small part of each is ever clearly in view. So it's like more of it submerged in our subconscious. But they are the root cause of all unhappiness. On one hand, we don't want to be unhappy. We want to be happy. So in order to be happy, we got to learn how to remove these kleshas also. That's the only way. Because attachment, rag is one of the kleshas. The yogic masters, they taught the importance of releasing our ties to past and future desired results first. because that's where our attachment is, in the past or in the future. And it could be the results and it could be the things. It could be also an excessive connection to our self-image. That's also very much part of it, attachment to our self-image. Letting go of our attachments or reaching a state of what they call non-attachment, Vairagya, is a prerequisite for self-development. Or to even know yourself, or to evolve yourself, this is a prerequisite, Vairagya. It is that important. In yoga, detaching does not mean that we become cool or wooden. Remember that. On the contrary, relinquishing our hurtful attachments give us the freedom to live a life that is not restricted by unresolved, painful experiences. When we can forgive and let go of our attachments to specific outcomes, past painful incidents, and hurtful behavior of others, we will be able to experience the present moment more intensely. And this is where we find abiding happiness. Okay, so this is what at the lower level detachment means. Attachment is an emotional bonding to people, to places, ideas, and things. That's all attachment. We can become attached to almost anything. We even get attached to shoes, pets, or even football teams, political teams, equipment, or a favorite seat in a classroom also. That could be all attachment. So we can feel an emotional bonding with the sounds, sights, stores, clothing, food, or the effects of words and actions. So attachment is not just it looks like a rag, just a small word, but when we really try to understand it, it's pretty expansive. Attachments may bring temporary pleasure, temporary. When we eat something which we like, when we are in the company of the person we like, temporary. But they can also cause pain and suffering. Attachments can bind us to discomfort, restrict our options. Our perspective, and losing what we are attached to can create great upset and hurt because it has been taken away from us. That's where the pain is. We like it so much and somebody else took it. I want it, I couldn't have it, somebody else got it. Animosity arises. Started from attachment. When we are attached to a relationship that has been dissolved, we feel the pain of separation. We say that it's natural. Sure, as a human being, it is natural, but it lasts for a time, and then it's over. But when we resist accepting the loss of that relationship, the pain does not stop. So that pain is in that resistance, not acceptance. It continues long past the natural grieving time. In fact, it persists for as long as we insist that the situation should have been different. Why this happened? We don't accept it, and we stay in pain. And as long as we are in pain, we are separating ourselves from God. There's no pain in God. There's only bliss in God. Anytime we allow our happiness, peace of mind, or sense of being loved to be dependent upon our attachments, we abandon our ability to remain in the present moment. Remember that. And that is the only place we can experience abiding happiness, in the present moment. The ancient yogis, the masters, the gurus, they tell us that only when we release ourselves from attachment and remain content with the present moment, we can be truly happy, truly peaceful. Otherwise, we are fooling ourselves. So letting go of our attachment and accepting reality as it is the key to freedom. Because we are on the path of freedom. We want ultimate freedom, which is called moksha, nirvana. So the key is let go of our attachments and accept the situation. Remaining content with the reality at hand and fully experiencing each moment of life are the ingredients for an easy, satisfying, and happy life. Let's investigate attachments. Because if this is so critical, so important for our progress, we got to spend some time investigating it. I would say keep an attachment journal if you're serious about it. Each time an angry or hurtful thought comes to mind, sit down, be still, take 10 consecutive slow and deep breaths. That means bring your mind and your prana, Shakti, in harmony. Lengthen each inhalation and exhalation. That means you are detaching from the outer world, you are going into the deeper parts of your personality. Then sit quietly, reflect on the situation and the attachment that generated your negative emotions. Work on that. Why did you get hurt? Why did you get angry? There got to be some root cause of it. Write about what, who, and why of each of the attachments you discover. Also consider the origin of each attachment and how it works in your life. We need to know that if we want to work on it. It's almost, if we have a physical problem, we look at the symptoms. Then we tell the doctor. They investigate. But this investigation, we can do it ourselves. We have the power to do it. We got to just sit back and concentrate. Expectations are a form of attachments. And we did learn that from our parents. Because in the early years of our life, whatever was taught to us, we did learn that. We created or shaped by the experiences of our life also later on. So it started from the childhood, and then later on, we have added more to it. Or we have modeled after the behavior of others. Sometimes we admire somebody and we model it, we copy it. And they make our lives and relationships difficult. Because we have added more. We forgot who we are. We just kept adding more and more on our mind. In fact, humanity's main reason for struggle, turmoil, or unhappiness is this. Feeling of anger frustration, anxiety, resentment, and hurt result from unmet expectations. Okay? People believe that what they expect from others is universal. But remember, expectations are not universal. They are subjective. No matter how real the expectations may feel, or how many people have validated them, because we always like to talk to the people who will validate our expectation. Expectations are still subjective. Expectations are a setup for disappointments. When our expectations are not met, the disappointment and hurt we feel does not allow us to see the love, though imperfect, that others are trying to give us. This is one way our expectations foster negative life views. Another thing is that when we insist that our way is the right way, anyone who does not live up to our ideas will fall short of our expectations and leave us disappointed, irritated, frustrated, hurtful, fearful, and angry. Then when we tell our friends and family about a wrong, what we suffered, they validate our right position. And this makes us feel better. We think that somebody else is on our side. It validates our point of view and reinforces our idea that everyone shares the same expectations. So if we want to be able to let go and forgive, it is important to remember that expectations are subjective, not universal. That is the bottom line. All people do not share the same expectations. We each have our own preconceived ideas of how others should behave, talk, and live. Often we don't even realize that we have them. Some of our expectations are outdated and no longer true. Whenever our expectations about the way others should think or treat us and how our lives should be are not met, negative feelings and distorted ideas arise. This happens around all unmet expectations, whether they are ours or even someone else's. I'm going to give you a few examples of common expectations so that we can reflect upon it. First one is, we think that I should be rewarded and treated better. Absolutely. But continuing to expect something that is not happening and feeling disappointed every time, the deserved treatment which is not there, doesn't make a happy life. So a yogi guru says, let it go. Let it go. Another one is, my children should give me more attention. I often hear that. Sure, they should. But if they won't or can't, stop expecting it. Right now, they may not be the people you think they are or would like them to be. Let it go. Another one is, but anybody, they shouldn't act that way. That is expectation. Remember, while they may be true from our perspective, it may not be true for theirs. It's almost like if you are standing and there's a 6 written, the other person is on the other side, it's a 9 for that person. They are not seeing the same thing. Otherwise, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Let it go. Sometimes we say that they should have known better. They should have been more considerate. Absolutely. But that is not who they were at that time. Maybe they did not know better. Or maybe they did not remember. Everyone makes mistakes. The mistake that is happening right now is the disappointment and hurt we are experiencing from our own expectations. Let them go. And this is a sadhana. Letting all this go is the sadhana. They owe me an apology. That's a big one. They probably do. But maybe they can't admit they were very wrong, or just too afraid to apologize. That is their problem. We don't need to make it our problem. Time to let it go and move on as a sadhak. We are always going to suffer when we expect things that we don't have the power to make happen. In order to feel better, we must stop hurting ourselves. Because if we are not letting go, who is getting hurt? We are getting hurt. Because other people can't or will not conform to our expectations. So in other words, we are putting our happiness in somebody else's hands. Take it back. When we can change these expectations into wishes, we can live easier, happier lives. Okay, wishes. The following exercise can help us get to know what our unrealistic expectations are. As I said earlier, uncovering expectations is the first one. Make a list of all the expectations you have about a situation that has been causing you pain. Write down your expectations. Go over each of them, one at a time. Explore where it came from, how it serves you now, how it harms your relationships, or even harming your own health, why you might not want to keep it. Finally, rewrite that expectation down as a hope or a wish. Because right away, we are not yogis right now. We cannot let it go, but we can definitely clean it up a little bit. Okay, so wish and a hope is a little milder. So that's how we work on it. Next thing is empty rules. Unrealistic expectations lead us to think people should behave in particular ways, and that these shoulds are invisible rules, shoulds to be followed in order for us to know our expectations are being met. But unless we have examined our expectations very carefully, we are probably not aware of the rules associated with them. We ourselves are in a haze. We don't have a clear idea about it. For example, if one of our rules says they should be grateful, sure, you're right. But how does that gratefulness look? What is it they needed to have said or done that would have made their behavior seem grateful? We may think if they really cared, they should have brought flowers or said the dinner was great. This would prove to us that our expectations that they should be grateful and being met. But often we are unaware of the dynamic. All we know is that someone is not behaving the way we think they should behave, and we feel powerless to change that person, and we feel pain. These are called empty rules. We created the rules, we didn't even talk about it. We think other person should have known or read our mind. Sometimes we do that even with the person we live with. How come you didn't know? We've been together for so many years. Talk it out. Because we are the one who get hurt. The rules surrounding our expectations are empty. Remember that. If there were an instruction booklet or how we should behave, an agreement that everyone would perform accordingly, then the rules that give proof to our expectations. But they are not written. They are never even talked about. They are only imagined. That's why they are empty rules. Because when others do not know or care about the rules, they do not follow them, we feel that we have been wronged. Unfortunately, however, it doesn't matter how many people agree with us or how strong their support is. Our own rules are still not binding. And even though the approval of our friends, because sometimes we like to get along with those people who really say yes to our rules. And family may feel good temporarily. In the long run, their support works against our healing. If we want to heal, we got to look at it properly, because it clouds our perception, entrenches us in a polarized position, solidifies our belief in our own rightness. Believing we are right will not relieve our pain. If it was that way, then there shouldn't be any pain. Remember that our pain comes from attachment to a pleasurable event that has been taken place in the past. The best way to find present and future happiness is to learn to identify the rules that are attached to our expectations, so that we can modify them. Let me tell you a technique that can help us discover this. First, identifying the rules. Each day, write down one of your expectations. This could be your homework. Look for the words shoulds or must that are associated with it. Wherever you find these words, you'll be able to find an unrealistic expectation. Simply becoming aware of the rules that surround an expectation will soften their effect. It's just like knowing it, knowledge itself can give us light. Rewrite the expectation without any rules. Reframe it as a hope or wish. So instead of a should, send the must, hope or a wish. So you're not just throwing it all out, you're softening it by trying to understanding it. There is a very simple formula to live a very pleasant life. Reality plus expectation is equal to reduced satisfaction. On the other hand, reality minus expectation is equal to plus satisfaction. This is a formula. So when our expectations are greater than the reality of the situation, we are disappointed, dissatisfied, and unhappy. Okay, So our own happiness is dependent upon our own perspective. Satisfaction grows as expectations diminish. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, he told us to be a Karam Yogi. He says, Karam you all do, but in order to become a Karam Yogi, you got to reduce the expectations. Expectations are what? The results. The result which I like, that is expectation. He said, result will come, but do not attach your mind to the result, because that's what expectation is. So satisfaction grows as expectations diminish. Whenever expectation of a situation are low and the reality exceeds them, we feel good. We feel happy. We feel peaceful. We even feel blissful. Every time you are disappointed, try using this formula. Identify the expectation that caused it. Write it down. Imagining lowering or eliminating your expectations in that situation. Notice that by reducing or eliminating your expectations, you open yourselves to a more positive experience. Positive experience. You enjoy life more. Connected with this topic is because often I hear from people that we cannot forgive ourselves, which is commonly called guilt feeling. So if we have a guilt feeling, we really cannot feel the happiness, the bliss. We got to learn to let go of that also. Lord Krishna again, he said guilt is a very tamasic emotion. Tamasic. Guilt is a huge subject, but today I'm going to just only touch upon it. For our purpose, we can say that guilt is associated with how we need to see ourselves in order to feel good about who we are. If we are guilty, we don't like ourselves. If we don't like ourselves, we are not going to develop on this path of yoga. So guilt, as it relates to the shoulds, because guilt is also related to the shoulds. That's why I wanted to add this in there today. Shoulds and the must. Guilt is a form of expectation born out of attachment. Again, I should have done that. I must have done that. And when I didn't, there's a guilt. And then we are covering our mind again with the darkness. Write it down again. Have a little journal. What I hope I should have done. Wish and the hope instead of shoulds and the musts. So it is the result of our behaving in ways we know are wrong and are not meeting an expectation. That's what we have set up for ourselves. So as a sadhak, we need to work on ourselves like this. So that's why this rag word, attachment, and opposite of that is Vairagya or Vairagya. No matter which scripture we study, we see these words everywhere. In Bhagavad Gita, in Yog Darshan, in Vivek Chudamani, everywhere Vairagya. So I wanted to just bring this word down to our level. How can we just reduce our attachments in a day-to-day life, because we have to work on it. Wishful thinking is not going to do it. We got to just take it a little seriousness into this. And that's why writing it down, bringing it to our attention, and then working on it in our actions and words and thoughts eventually. Yeah, I'm sure you all have many questions, so we'll stop it here and discuss. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.